Good morning, Abdullahi.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mariam.
Good morning.
The debater from Buruburu Girls.
Wow, you're an OG.
OG fan.
Wow, that's an OG.
My dear, you remember the labor prank?
Yes.
20th of October 2015,
Yes, I do.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
Hussein was newly married.
No. Yes, you. Yes, he was. I was at his wedding.
I was a father then, so I sensed that being a young man who is married, he didn't know the water is breaking.
No, he really panicked. Till today, he chastises me for putting that.
Eric and I come from Situation Room to fixing the nation.
Wow. Thank you for the brief on all of us.
Yes.
He's like, I'm drawing a thread on how I know all of you.
I have to.
That's good.
I can't come to an interview when I don't know the people I'm trying to
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you for the good program.
Thank you.
Give him the quote.
I'll give him the quote. In 1994, during his inauguration, Nelson Mandela, among many other things, said, "Disregard for law is the gateway to anarchy."
Disregard for the law.
Yes.
Is
the gateway to anarchy.
1994, I was a Kemal Hada in Asabito.
In where?
Asabito, in Mandela North.
Okay.
But later on, when we had the opportunity to access library and newspapers, where I read a lot about him. The same is said in the principles of good governance, that the first rule of good governance is everyone to observe the rule of law and equal before the rule of law. Anarchy means we don't have order. That's why my lecturer used to say, Duncan Ocheng, when you see a very small, tiny police officer lady raising her hand and stopping a 20-ton vehicle, it's not her, it's the law. You see, because that lady raises the hand, the driver cooperates, stops. That is the law. Unfortunately, under this regime and previous regimes, especially after Kibaki, the rule of law in this country has been only brought to fore where it is convenient for the politicians. Nairobi is chaos. I've lived in better countries. If you go to Oslo or Amsterdam, you will see where real men are reasoning. Here, we have tumbocrats accumulating primitive wealth, thinking that because of their inadequacy, they think they can now cover it with big cars, big houses, big monies. What do you need to live as a human being? You need basics. If you have breakfast, if it's okay, or at least you eat. I partly grew up in Busia. So sometimes we used to take githeri at 6 a.m. with black tea. That was then, because Luyas like githeri. And up to today, I'm still the same guy. I eat githeri in the morning. What is the essence of food? The essence of food is to keep us working and thinking. We don't live in this world to eat. We eat to live. So, as I told Eric in 2021 when I was first hosted there, what we need is a Traore moment of this country. Unfortunately, I am disappointed with the current regime. I have written articles about them. Immediately they came to power on the Star. And I said Gachagua should stop talking and start working. Unfortunately, he did not read my article, because if he did, he would have survived. I was trying to tell him the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president by law. What Gachagua misunderstood is how the political parties work before election and how government in the constitution kicks in immediately you're sworn in. When you're sworn in, and I remember the president gave him some work. There was an executive order, about 8-9 functions, which I listed in my article. So we will be one day better than this. We are better than 1990. Mother Karua was seated here. For me, it's an honor to sit in the same seat. You know, Mother Karua, she's the type of people who agitated from 1992. So this is a baton we are handing over to each other. Kenya is better. But the elites that were created by Kenyatta and Moi have not realized this is a different Kenya. And that's what happened in June 25th.
Yeah.
So I think the law is the thing that I normally say, I think I'm the only civil litigant in the High Court of Kenya who goes to court as a journalist, who litigate cases. Sometimes they call me the Umtata of Mandela. When you go to court, there are three things that the judge will listen to: the facts, the law, and the evidence. So when a lawyer brings political innuendos, the judge asks him, where is that anchored in law? You see, so the law protects us from each other, and it protects us from the government. But unfortunately, under KK, the law is not protecting us from this government. They are causing terror.
You've been very vocal. First of all, there's a lot to pull at from there, and we'll go, slowly pulling at what you've said. But you've been vocal about, let me start with money, because you've been vocal about budgets, how they're misappropriated, how what goes where. What is our principal money management problem?
If you listen to President Uhuru, he said that 2 billion shillings are stolen per day.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to Willie Mutunga, he said we have a banditry problem.
Mm-hmm. A bandit economy.
Mm-hmm. Others will say there is a budgeted corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you read the Constitution on finances and when you read the Public Finance Management Act, government is not hard to manage because government is not Ruto. Kenyatta died, Kenya government continued. Mm-hmm. Moi died, Kenya is still here. Kibaki died, we only left with Uhuru and Ruto. Mm-hmm. But the government is still here. Mm-hmm. The government is run by technocrats, people who were trained by Kenya. If you go to Kenya School of Government, mm-hmm. the government invests in capacity building.
Kenya School of Monetary Studies as well.
All of these things. So what is the essence of investing in this? This is building, we're using research to build our future. Now, when the father is drunkard and the mother is a prostitute and you expect to raise saints, then maybe you're a cousin to Jesus. You're not normal. What needs to happen is this. Financial management in this country. First of all, there is no money that is stolen, Mariam. Mm-hmm. What is stolen is money meant for services. Mm. Money meant for cancer, money meant for drugs, money meant for, all these things, roads. Now, Parliament, if you look at chapter 8, 9, and 10, there is a reason why the people of Kenya, with all their wisdom, and the people who drafted the Constitution, have decided to have that Parliament is going to be number 1, the executive is going to be number 2, and judiciary is going to be number 3. That was deliberate. The thinking was, we are going to give voice to the representative of the people. Now, Kenyan Parliament is the second most paid after Nigeria, I think, if I'm not wrong. Mm-hmm. In a country where inequity drives people in the range of 3,500 for rural Kenya and about 8,000 shillings in urban Kenya, when 69.7% of Kenyans are in rural Kenya, about 38 million, and 30.3 are in urban settings. Unfortunately, we have Karen, we have Muthaiga, we have Ronda, but we still have Kibra and Mathare, 62 years after independence. And I said, and I told Eric then, if Kenyatta, whom I called as an illiterate plumber, would have thought about raising a nation, not a state. From 63, we concentrated in building the state. That's why they're killing people. That's why snipers could shoot someone running away from him. We created a state that is rogue, still behaving like the colonial tendencies. Kenya is under a new leaf called the 2010 Constitution, where people said we are going to respect each other. Bill of Rights, where my rights begin from where yours begin, end. My right ends from yours, where you begin. So financial is a weakness of a system that was created for a very long time, managed by a cabal of pirates called politicians who have nothing else but just making sure that they steal still. I don't know, the deputy president, former deputy president Gachagua said on Obina, allegation is made that the president is worth between 3 billion to 4 billion. If that is true, then means the president of the Republic of Kenya is as rich. Allegations. Trillion, yes. 3 to 4 trillion. And our budget is 3 trillion. 3 trillion budgeted for about 57 million Kenyans. Now, it means he's going to the range of the rich Nigerian industrialist. What is his name? Dangote. But Ruto was a chicken seller, yet he's as rich as this guy. So that is the rotten financial management. Where dealership, I think I sent Eric, there is an article I wrote then, dealership, KK government dealership. What happens in this country is this: I don't have a company of construction, or because I saw what was happening in Nairobi back in 2009, 2010, 13, 15. People started, that time, you know, we warriors talk a lot. So immediately the government started contracts. This area of Jamia was very busy. People getting, and majority of other Kenyans, especially in university PhD guys, were developing profiles.
Right.
Now you'll see in Nairobi, someone who is 30 years, worth 100 million.
A 30-year-old.
A 30-year-old Kenyan, mostly from, even other communities, worth 100 million, 50 million. Now you sit with them and you engage.
Teach me your ways.
No, you don't say that. You don't, that's what I do. You listen to them on how they make money. They tell you, you go to a PS in a department, then before the budget is written or drafted, you tell him, I have this project in Mandela North. It's a dam. It's 100 million. It is 50 million Kenyan shillings. I would like you to push it. The need is there. So they have facilitated the government to go and assess the need. The need is there. The documents are there. Then you put it in budget. Once you put it in budget, now 10% kicks in. And the 10% is upfront. They don't negotiate. So
10% going to who?
To the people in charge, either the PS or the CS. Or if you go to Serena, you'll get information. That is where the deals and big guys come. Now, finances in this country are helping the elites. Why am I saying that? Look at the budget of health, 129 billion Kenyan shillings. I deal with policy. You ask yourself, why so much money? If you go to counties, it's between 2 billion to 2.2, which means Kenyans are eating drugs. Food is not available. Agriculture is distressed. 25% of our GDP is agriculture. 75% is the labor market. What is supposed to happen is now, one, why will you pay a member of parliament who is paid 10,000, who goes to female toilets to get 10,000, 1.5? What did they do to deserve that? What do they do? What is the qualification of being a member of parliament? You just need to have a post-secondary. You can be an IRE teacher, you can be a theology teacher, you can be anything. So we have even downgraded knowledge. That's why we have a neurologist. That's why we have, you know, an orthopedic. These are things you go to school. That's why we have journalists. You don't just come here. There are things you do before you come here. But we closed our mind and said, let's not take our best mind to Parliament is a debating place. For you to debate, I mean, at least you should read one book a month, so that you have 12 books a year, 60 in 5 years, so that you have ideas.
So that you know the issues.
Yes, and that's why I find the president very difficult in communication. You see, I think it was an Italian guy, the rule of 7%, 38%, and 55% in communication. 7% constitutes only the wordings. 38% is body language. 55% is tone. The president was angry when he spoke in State House about criminals going to. He was very angry. You see.
Seething.
Seething. You see. And the anger is seen in the death of Kenyans. And there's no accountability. So when the law, we'll go back to the proverb, when the law is not protected, when the law did not protect that young boy who was in the university, do you know going to university in this country, the hassle you need to go through? How parents pay, you know, do that? So I think we have heartless individuals in the heart of Parliament. And I don't think we have Parliament. We have the worst semi-illiterate, tumbocratic, bread-based government in Kenyan history.
Actually, if you look at the profiles of our members of parliament, all 345 plus the other 66 in the Senate, we actually have people who are educated, well educated. Now the question is, why do they behave the way they behave? Which once brings me to our focus of our conversation today, Abdullahi, which is the citizens versus the politics of the day. The politics of the day often appears to be, what is shaping the agenda, and then the citizens need to catch up with that agenda of the politics of the day. Like the politicians decide, so this is the route to go, and all of us have to find a way to jump onto that bandwagon or train as it's moving. Is that the right thing to do? How should the sovereign of this republic make sure that they are the ones who set the agenda?
It is the opposite. The government is supposed to fear the public, but in Kenya, the public are fearing the government. The economy needs to work for all of us. The economy is working for 3 million people. The constitution comes to play when it only favors the president and his team. You have had Sherengei talking about extension of, 7 term. About 33 countries in Africa have term limits. And if you could not do anything in 5 years, what are you going to do an extra of 2 years? Now, our problem is, you talked of well-educated people. Well, I said there are those of us who are schooled, then we have educated fools, then we have learned ones. Learned person can be class 8 liver who is reasoning with logic. A PhD holder who is stealing drugs from a hospital because he has a hospital outside. How did education help that person? He's an educated fool. You see?
With money on his mind.
With money on his mind.
Yeah, so when you can have a PhD and still remain a fool. Because education is supposed to give you perspective. Education is supposed to give you reasoning. Education is supposed to give you humility. Education is supposed to give you respect. If all those, you see, leadership requires a lot of integrity, a lot of humility, a lot of character. As a Muslim, we were told that the 3 key principles in Islam is being trustworthy, is being honest, and is being just. Even with your enemy, you're supposed to be just. Now, politicians are collecting money. I call it primitive accumulation of wealth, material wealth. People think, like even within my community, someone is telling, I bought this watch with 100,000. I tell you mine is 1,500. But what does it still say? 9 a.m. 1 a.m., isn't it? Clothes. Clothes are meant for 3 things. To cover our nudity, to look beautiful or handsome, and to cover the weather, whether it's cold or hot. There is nothing else. Ukienda nyumbani utatoa. If you're married, you're going to sleep with someone else. If you're not married, you'll sleep alone with it. Now, when you brag and accumulate worldly affairs, Kenya is rich. I've traveled around this country. Our budget, we are like richer than 6 countries around us. You see, I think the budget of Northern Kenya is more than Kenya alone, is more than Rwanda, Burundi, and some other countries. There is money. But now, instead of investing in it, if I was the president of the Republic of Kenya, why is the Ministry of Mining in Nairobi? Why is the Ministry of Tourism in Nairobi? Why is the Ministry of Agriculture in Nairobi?
Before you get into that, there was something I wanted to pick on around demographics, how they're changing our politics as well. Young population, we keep saying it over and over again. How much of it is old enough to vote or to be participating in, matters governance is a whole different story. But our demographics, how do they play into our politics? How do we weaponize our demographics, whether they are in terms of age, in terms of tribe, in terms of gender, for change?
Well, I think, first of all, there's a culture of a country doesn't change. Our culture is 62 years old. It's very rigid. The people controlling are the ones talking too much. And when you talk too much, you control the narrative. Unfortunately, they're young men. I've seen Kaspul and the other guy talking about presidency, and I was looking at them. If that is the kind of generation we have, we are still very far. Politics requires, by the time you're coming to politics, lazima umeiva. You have a car, you're married, you have children, you can lead. In my society, there's
how
a
are
lady.
those prerequisites for leadership?
Let me tell you.
A car, a wife, children.
Let me tell you.
How are those
Let me now say.
prerequisites for leadership?
A woman who doesn't have a husband or a woman cannot be responsible. Responsibility starts
A man
with
or
both.
okay.
If a woman has a child, she knows the pain of other children. If she doesn't know. Because this is a feeling.
But that speaks to a lack of empathy. If I can't empathize with someone just because I don't have that same situation, if I can't empathize with a child,
We are
because
talking
I don't
about
have a
always,
child.
I always address the majority, not the minority. Now, what we need to do is, when I was contesting for a member of parliament, I was already married. I contested twice in Mandera North. I was not elected because I was the one with the less ideas. I was not elected because, one, I came from a smaller tribe within the bigger tribe. Two, I had either little money or never wanted to give money. Because I told people, why are we practicing the transactional politics, where you are waiting for dividend and returns instead of leading? You see, so I told the people, look, I prepared myself for 25 years. I have read enough. I'm now writing a lot. I know how to develop my society from what the experience and the skills I have. In Mandera North, we only need to invest in education and in agriculture. In Kenya, hii nonsense yote hatutaki kelele mingi. We just need to invest in education and in agriculture. When you eat and you're educated, you can do whatever you want. You can read, you can write, you can do what you want. But now, when the people in Kagir, in Baringo County, or Asabito in Mandera North, or a village in Nyando have not taken breakfast this morning, how do you expect that child to go to class and concentrate when he's already hypoglycemic? You see, so what we need to do is the youth between 35, 30, by 2027, about 27 million Kenyans will be eligible for voting. If you look at the national registration on ID, insurance, and now 10%, 15% every year, because our birth rate is between 1.2 to 2%. So you see, we are relatively a very young country. I think majority of Kenyans are below 38, between 18, between 14, which is, the best thing that God brought to this world are human beings. It's not money. It's not ndege. All those things service us. These microphones, if you don't come here, they're useless. If you don't drive the car, it's useless. If that bed, there's nobody sleeping on, it's useless. That's why Muslims are told that God created you in the best of your forms. And you are the best for the world. Human beings is the best asset we have. The president failed to understand that. So what we need to do is make sure we have industries that have production. Why is it that there is no a leather factory in Mandera? You see, let me just finish. Leather factory in Mandera, because the material is available, the labor is available, we only need the capital. Because you look at the 4 factors of production, the labor, the land, the resources, all that. We will have gotten ngozi skin from Djibouti, from 23 semi-arid. So we will have produced belts, we will have produced shoes. There is no rocket science in producing a belt. It's a process. Like in Elwak, in Mandera County, we could produce cement because we have lime. In Mandera North, we'll have produced fruits. But the government is busy staying in Nairobi, still thinking before 2012. So I think the youth, this is what they want to do. And I told them even on Twitter, before they went to parliament, I was on space, I told them, wear a kofia, disguise yourself. You do not know the state you're dealing with. Disguise yourself, have a mask, have a kofia, make sure your fingerprints are not gotten, leave the phone at home, get another one. Because even within the demonstrators, the state plants people. So they know your face and everything. So GenZs, this is the message I have for them. Organize yourself in your wards. Forget about these razzmatazz of Nairobi. No. Every ward, we have like 45, almost 50,000. Imagine, Eric and my sisters, if we said 10 graduates or 5 graduates from the country will guard every polling station. I contested as a member of parliament, I told you. So what happens is the moment the count is over, the presiding officer fills the form, he attaches to the polling station. You take a picture. So we become our own IEBC. There are 38 million Kenyans with smartphones. There are close to 29 of them with internet. So which means we have more phones with smartphone than voters. So we can deal with the government. What does the government have? 200,000 soldiers? We have an army that is below 38.
So you're saying they should organize at ward level?
Yes.
In what form?
Like I come from my village in Galicia where I vote. We have like 10, 15 graduates now there. Maybe 3 of us will say 2 of us should be agents, independent agents, just observing. Because in Kenya, you're sovereign. You can go there and become an agent for yourself and observe, as long as you're not breaking the law and interfering with the process. What you need to do is just observe whether people are voting, and the voter assister is assisted correctly. If the person said, I'm going to vote for Janet Mbugwa, Janet Mbugwa photo is ticked, not Eric or Mariam, you make sure that. Then the second one is when the voting time is over and the ballot boxes are closed, are sealed, and then they are being counted, make sure you are there. Take the numbers. There is a form they will post on the polling station. Take a picture. Then that way is how you build a country. Not this.
But we already have that system. That structure is there.
That's why you could not trust it.
In every election, we have agents. Every candidate has an agent in a polling station. Most of those agents in the polling stations are youth. So what different thing are you proposing?
The different thing is people are becoming more enlightened. People are becoming more disturbed. People are becoming more disillusioned with the system. And they're becoming, watu wamechoka. So wanasema kama mbaya, let me now do this. Now, we need to be, I believe in processes. You can't do things helter-skelter. Kenyans, there are 2 things you're not going to get. You're not going to have your cake and eat it. It's either, I would like my sister to Google for us the political illiterate. Now, if you do not participate in politics, that's where the decisions that affect us today are made. If you're going to politics to get rich, I'm already rich. I'm a father of 8 boys and 2 girls. I'm married to a very beautiful nurse. I have life. I'm reading, I'm sleeping well, I'm healthy. I've seen people who have stolen from Wajir and Mandera in hospitals. Malipo ni hapa duniani.
Just
Not
on
always,
that, not always. Before you tell us about political
illiterates live.
I know, 90 years old.
Okay.
Just a quick.
There are a few.
Just a quick one still on leadership. So are you saying young people should not form their own parties or join existing ones? Because those are the options right now.
No. But, when it comes to vying, there is a process in place. As a country, we have a constitution, we have statutory laws, like now we have the Political Party Act. Everyone is free to join whatever party they want, because the alternative is just to be independent or not to contest, which you can't. Politics is individual. You don't make decisions as youth. No, Janet. I was the first person to contest as a member of parliament from my family, the entire section, from 1963. So 62 years before me, they never had a candidate. So these things are individual. And I normally say, just like in journalism, you either want to become one or you don't. One guy used to say journalism is like wanting to have sex. You either have the urge or you don't. Politics is the same.
Okay.
You either want these things or not. And then politics is not meant for cowards. Cowards are naive people who don't think they have to fight for it enough. The ability to dare the state, the ability to dare other men, is what makes someone a leader. But that time, it means you know what you're doing. If you ask a member of parliament today in parliament, what do you want to do for your people? He's going to say, I'm going to talk to them. I mean, you're supposed to do your research.
So Morara and Caswell, who are doing it, your thoughts on it? Because you've alluded to, you've said the country is 62, 63 years old. We're very ready.
They have the right to try. Let them try. But they are going into a very dangerous, murky waters. You remember how many times Morara was attacked? So if he doesn't have endurance, consistency, and perseverance, politics is not meant for easy men. You need to be hard. Look at Raila. Everybody who tortured or, was bothering Raila in the 80s and the 70s is dead. But Raila is alive. Meaning, when you're going to die is only known to Allah or God or whoever you believe in. So we say that there are 3 things that are written when a child is in the womb of his mom: the gender, what they're going to eat, when they're going to die, and how they're going to live.
Those are 4.
Yes. So 4, those things are decided. You're now a male, you're female, you are eating every day. Mariam has gone through a process up to today. We have all come through processes. So those were written for us. Then death is only known to God. It can come in different form, shapes. There are people who sleep at night, they get heart attack, no one knows them, they died. There are those who died in plane crash, accidents, bitten by a snake, you hit by a motorbike. So these things are only known to God. What I'll just tell them is, don't be careless and don't be lazy. If you want to avoid the government to track you, forget about electronics. Forget about electronics.
I'm not getting the answer to this question.
I know. I want you to both pause on your thread because I know we won't have time to do feedback. I want to do the right thing. McCoy 1 password official. This is the naked truth. Proceed. Donald Lidambitsa, I adore Abdullahi's realism and courage. Inform them on the consolidated fund. Meru, what is it? The one thing Kenya stands out. The rest of Africa is the citizenry through programs like this are well informed. Our guest has done well. Richness redefined. Kids and family, the greatest wealth. That's Steve Maguta Films. So just some feedback that we were asked to share. I know Eric and Mariam had follow-up questions. Right.
I don't have a follow-up question. I just want to ask Janet, the question that you asked.
About Morara and Kebaso.
Yeah, like...
Morara and Kebaso, Morara and Kazmel. Yeah. He said they're free to vie, but they just have to be careful. From what he was threading earlier was the country in its history is rigid and not ready, perhaps, for young voices front and center at this time. That's what I've gathered, but it's like they can go ahead and try, but at the back end,
Kenya is a very
people, yes. Sorry, there's a call as well.
That's all right. There's a caller coming in. There's so many questions.
I know,
but let's get this caller from Meru to just give the question or comment to Abdullahi.
Or Ruiru,
sorry. Aya, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have a question or a comment, Boniface, for Abdullahi?
Okay, I have a question and I have a comment. First of all, I'm very much encouraged by that MP from I don't know from which side.
I'm not.
He is not current MP.
I vied.
Okay.
He vied twice.
He's fine,
But that's a good prophecy.
Okay, congratulations for him.
Continue.
My comment is this. Actually, if at all we can have a zand in our population in Kenya, such a guy, we can move far. And what is happening right now as he is trying to comment and to evaluate, surely I see we have a lot of problems here and there because we have so many people who are educated. And the matter he has raised actually, it is what is happening in our country, Kenya. So now the thing is, we have educated people, of which I understand, being educated, you need to acquire education that should give you a courage to face the problem of this world we are living in. And actually, whatever is happening, we see those educated people, they are the people who are influencing evil to encounter what is not there for us. And for sure, what is happening right now, we see, especially in our parliament today, we are having the people who call themselves educated, but really they are not putting things in order. They are destabilizing everything, economy-wise, and the theme of the life we are living today is this. If at all you are educated, you should be set free from that evil or none or things that are not there for us. We are human beings. And actually we are living a time whereby we are the animals look as if they are more educated because they don't have one another. But today we see people how they are having people, their sisters, their brothers, especially in this time we are living in. You see, we have seen what has been happening.
Thank you.
And really, we are entitled to things that are not there.
Thank you,
see
Boniface.
Okay, we see, let me just finish my comment.
Yeah.
We see how these politicians are moving from one place to the other, especially in our Kiambu County. We see actually, even I told another guy recently, we have elected people who are not there for us. Okay. Now they are camping again. They are coming back to our areas just to raise things that are not there. They are not helpful. They are not for long to sustain us.
Thank you very much.
Boniface, because of time, we have to cut you off. We have to cut you off. But thank you so much for the insights and for the comments. We literally have two minutes before we wrap up the show, and there's quite a lot to get through. Abdullahi, because of time, I just ask you one last parting shot. When you think of fixing, what comes to mind? Fixing the nation.
President Ruto has the still opportunity to rectify mistakes. You don't need 20 advisors. You don't need 22 cabinet secretaries. You don't need almost 40. You need a lean government, a very competent government, and a government that believes in the rule of law. 129 women were killed. Almost 60 or 70 or 100 youths are reported missing or dead, or, you know. Let me tell people about the issue of presidency. Central Kenya produced 3 presidents. Nyangarima in Murang'a in Kinyaga ward has no water, and that is the same home of the current Kinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru. If you look at Kiamba in Kiambu County in Mururi ward, people are suffering still with a lot of issues of alcohol. We have problems as a country. Mr. President, kindly fix the country.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdullahi.
Thank you
for your insight. There's so much positive feedback with regards to what you've said here on the show. Lots of people, agreeing with what you've said. Politics is not for the faint-hearted. That's smallest ever agreeing. Security agencies being used politically. That's from DCI. That's an odd comment to come from someone whose YouTube username is DCI. But thank you, Abdullahi. Just before we close the show, we do have an update on what was happening in Trans Nzoia as far as this arrest or the raid of Governor George Natembea's home. And the AICC is investigating allegations of procurement irregularities, abuse of office, bribery, fraudulent acquisition of public funds totaling 1.4 billion shillings at the county government of Trans Nzoia. The alleged irregularities and the fraudulent payments span the 2022-2023 to 2024-2025 financial years. The investigations relate to 3 major projects. 1, the rehabilitation and modernization of Kenyatta Stadium, the construction of the Trans Nzoia County Headquarters offices, and the construction of Tom Mboya Hospital. As part of the investigations, the Commission is conducting a search operation pursuant to court orders targeting offices and residences of various persons of interest, including the Governor George Natembea. The Governor is alleged to have influenced award of tenders and received kickbacks from contractors through proxies. That is at least some clarity on what's happening there, why the raid, why the drama. I wish the communication would have come a bit earlier because it's been shrouded in mystery. We didn't know, that it was the EACC.
Text was enough, Texting him to appear with his lawyer was enough.
Exactly, as opposed to that. And just as we wind up on Fixing the Nation, next up is Your World, Bales, Bikes and Baking, inside Kenya's everyday hustles that pay. That's going to be in just a few minutes with Winnie and Mwikali, your hosts for Your World. But from us at Fixing the Nation, Eric Latif, Mariam Bishar, Janet Wogwa, we say thank you for being with us every day, to our fixers, our community of fixers.
Asante sana. See you tomorrow. Tuesday. Tune in tomorrow morning. Utajipatia makubwa. See you again.